The emergency beacon screamed through every speaker in the research outpost, turning Rachel's quiet afternoon into chaos. She dropped her lunch and ran toward the control room, her boots slapping against metal floors. 3 other scientists were already there, staring at screens filled with red warning symbols. "Crashed vessel in docking bay 7, someone said. "Auto distress triggered 2 minutes ago." Rachel grabbed a scanner and headed for the airlock. The others stayed behind, claiming they needed to monitor systems. She knew the truth. Nobody wanted to see what happened when ships collided with space debris at high speed. The mess was always terrible. Bay 7 sat at the far end of the station, a section they barely used anymore. Budget cuts meant fewer ships, fewer supplies, fewer reasons to maintain the outer platforms. Rachel's breath echoed inside her helmet as she cycled through 3 airlocks. Each one protested with grinding sounds that made her wince. The wreckage spread across the entire bay, twisted metal, shattered containers, frozen liquid floating in zero-gravity bubbles. Rachel moved carefully, scanning for survivors. Her detector stayed silent. No heartbeats, no body heat, just cold debris and the fatting warmth of failed engines. Something moved near a broken cargo pod. Rachel froze. Her hand went to the emergency beacon on her suit. Then she saw it clearly. A creature no bigger than a rabbit struggling to crawl across a piece of hull plating. Its scales were dull gray, almost colorless. Wings hung limp and crumpled against its sides. A baby dragon. She had studied dragons in training videos. Massive predators from Draken IV. Class X designation, capable of melting through starship hulls. This tiny thing looked nothing like those monsters. It looked desperate. The hatchling spotted her. Its head lifted, showing eyes too large for its face. Then it lunged at a piece of metal debris and began eating. Not biting, actually consuming the steel like it was food. Tiny jaws worked frantically, swallowing chunks of alloy. Rachel's scanner beeped. The dragon's biological readings were failing. Malnutrition, extreme stress, maybe 12 hours left before total system collapse. "Control, this is Brooks," she said into her comm. "Found the source of the distress call. Transport vessel carrying illegal cargo. All crew deceased." "Any salvage?" The voice crackled with static. "Negative, total loss." Rachel watched the dragon eat a rubber seal, returning to base. She cut the connection before anyone could question her. The dragon had moved to a new piece of debris, still eating everything within reach. Plastic, rubber, glass. Its body was trying to extract nutrients from anything available. Station protocol was clear. Unauthorized life forms meant immediate termination. No exceptions, especially not Class X predators. Rachel looked at the tiny creature. It had stopped eating. Those oversized eyes stared at her again. Intelligence flickered there. Understanding. The dragon knew it was dying. She pulled an emergency supply pouch from her belt and opened it. The dragon's nostrils flared. It crawled closer, moving with painful slowness. Rachel placed a nutrition bar on the ground. The hatchling sniffed it, then resumed eating metal scraps instead. "Wrong nutrients," Rachel muttered. "You need something specific." The dragon swayed, its legs buckled. Rachel caught it before it hit the floor. The creature weighed almost nothing. She could feel individual ribs through the dull scales. It made a sound like wind through broken glass. Not threatening, just tired. "This is incredibly stupid," Rachel told herself. She tucked the dragon inside her supply pack, leaving the top open for air. The hatchling didn't fight. It curled into a ball and went still. Rachel sealed her helmet and headed back through the airlocks. Her quarters were small. One room with a bed, a desk, and a tiny bathroom. She locked the door and pulled the dragon from her pack. It had fallen asleep or maybe passed out. She placed it on her bed and grabbed her personal scanner. The readings were worse than before. The dragon needed massive amounts of calcium, iron, and several minerals Rachel couldn't pronounce. Its metabolism was designed to process these from natural prey. Metal and plastic were killing it slowly. Rachel accessed the station's restricted database. Dragons were classified information. Most files were sealed, but her xenobiology clearance opened a few folders. She read quickly. Dragon hatchlings required constant feeding for the first month of life. Without proper nutrition, their bodies cannibalized themselves. They also needed physical contact with parents. Isolation caused psychological damage that led to death even when food was available. "Great," Rachel whispered. "You're starving and traumatized." The dragon's eyes opened. It looked at her without moving. Rachel reached out slowly and touched its head. The scales felt rough and cold. The dragon made that wind-through-glass sound again, softer this time. "I don't know what I'm doing," Rachel admitted, "but I'll figure something out." She pulled up her personal files: emergency rations, mineral supplements, equipment repair supplies, anything that might contain what the dragon needed. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, calculating combinations and ratios. The dragon watched her work. After a few minutes, it crawled closer, not threatening, just seeking warmth. Rachel let it settle against her leg while she researched. Outside her quarters, the station's AI announced the evening shift change. Rachel had maybe 6 hours before someone noticed unusual power consumption in her room. 6 hours to synthesize food that might keep this creature alive. 6 hours before security came asking questions. The dragon's breathing became steadier. Its scales felt slightly warmer. Physical contact was helping. Rachel pulled up synthesis protocols for emergency medications. If she modified the mineral content, added protein chains from her rations, maybe created a paste the dragon could digest. It was a terrible plan with 1,000 ways to fail. But the alternative was watching this creature die. She got to work. Rachel's synthesizer hummed for 3 hours straight. She combined mineral supplements with protein powder and ground up calcium tablets. The resulting paste looked like gray mud. It smelled worse. The dragon refused to eat it. "Please," Rachel begged, "you need this." The hatchling turned its head away and crawled toward her tool kit instead. It grabbed a wrench with tiny claws and started gnawing on the handle. Rachel pulled the wrench away. The dragon hissed. Actual fire sparked from its nostrils. Not much, just tiny embers that died instantly, but enough to prove the creature had working dragon abilities despite its weakened state. "Fine," Rachel said, "different approach." She grabbed the paste and spread it on a sheet of aluminum foil. The dragon perked up immediately. It lunged forward and devoured the foil, paste and all. Within seconds, the entire portion was gone. The dragon looked at her expectantly. "You need the metal as a delivery system," Rachel realized. "Your digestive system is designed to break down minerals from ore and rock." She prepared another batch, this time wrapping it in copper wire from her spare electronics. The dragon ate it just as quickly. Its scales began to show faint color. Not much, just hints of silver instead of lifeless gray. Progress. Rachel checked the time. 4 hours until the morning shift. 4 hours until people started moving through hallways and asking questions. She prepared more food and watched the dragon eat. Each portion seemed to help. The creature's movements became less shaky. Its breathing evened out. Then someone knocked on her door. Rachel shoved the dragon under her blanket and opened the door a crack. Dimitri stood in the hallway, wearing his security uniform and a suspicious expression. "Working late, Brooks." "Research," Rachel said quickly. "New data from the crashed vessel. Wanted to log it before I forgot." Dimitri's eyes moved past her, scanning the visible room. "Your power consumption is double the normal rate. Running unauthorized experiments." "Synthesizer," Rachel said. "Making extra rations. The cafeteria food is terrible." "Uh-huh," Dimitri didn't look convinced. Station AI flagged your database access to Class X Predator files. Want to explain that? Rachel's mind raced. The crashed ship was transporting biological specimens. I needed to verify what died in the collision for the report. And did you verify it? All specimens deceased, total loss. Dimitri studied her face. Rachel forced herself to maintain eye contact. Behind her, under the blanket, the dragon shifted. The movement was tiny, but Dimitri's eyes flickered toward the bed. You look tired, he said finally. Get some sleep, and keep the power usage down. Commander's been watching the budget. He left without waiting for a response. Rachel locked the door and sagged against it. The dragon crawled out from under the blanket, watching her with those intelligent eyes. That was close, Rachel whispered. Over the next 2 days, Rachel fell into a routine. She worked her regular shift in the lab, came back to her quarters during breaks to feed the dragon, synthesized new food combinations every evening. The creature grew rapidly. By the 3rd day, it was the size of a large cat. Rachel ran out of spare metal. She started stealing scraps from the recycling bins, old pipes, broken tools, anything that contained the minerals the dragon needed. She ground them into powder and mixed them with the nutrient paste. The dragon's scales developed full color, bright silver with hints of blue along the edges. Its wings unfolded properly for the first time. They were beautiful. Delicate membranes stretched between thin bones, creating patterns like stained glass windows. The creature began responding to her voice. When Rachel spoke, the dragon's scales rippled with faint light. When she felt stressed, the dragon pressed against her leg. The connection went both ways. Rachel started to understand the dragon's needs without words. Hunger felt like emptiness in her own stomach. Fear manifested as a cold weight in her chest. We're bonding, Rachel said aloud, like the old files mentioned. She pulled up the restricted database again and read deeper. Dragons were empathic species. They shared emotions with pack members. Hatchlings bonded with parents through constant contact and emotional exchange. Without this bond, young dragons went feral. Most species couldn't maintain the emotional intensity dragons required. The bond drove them insane. Humans were different. Human emotional range was broader, more flexible. The files suggested humans might be compatible with dragons, but no one had ever tested the theory. Rachel was testing it now, by accident. The dragon made a chirping sound. Rachel looked down. The creature sat at her feet, head tilted in question. It was waiting for something. What do you need? The dragon walked to the door and scratched at it. Rachel felt the emotion clearly. Restlessness. The desire to move, to explore. Being confined was making the dragon anxious. I can't let you out, Rachel said. Someone will see you. The dragon chirped again. Its emotional state pressed against Rachel's mind. Not demanding, just explaining. The creature needed space, needed to stretch its wings. Being trapped in one room was becoming unbearable. Rachel checked the station's schedule. Night shift had minimal crew. Most systems ran on automation. If she was careful, maybe they could reach the observation deck. It was rarely used, large enough for the dragon to move around. Okay, Rachel said, but you have to stay quiet. She fashioned a harness from emergency rope and attached it to the dragon's chest. The creature tolerated this with patience. Rachel opened her door and checked the hallway. Empty. They moved quickly through the deserted corridors. The observation deck was perfect. Transparent aluminum windows showed the stars beyond. Open floor space stretched 30 meters. The dragon bounded forward the moment Rachel released the harness. It ran in circles, wings spread wide. Joy flooded through their connection. Rachel sat on the floor and watched. The dragon played like a puppy, chasing its own tail, pouncing on imaginary prey, making happy chirping sounds. This was what the creature needed, not just food, freedom, space to be itself. After an hour, the dragon curled up next to Rachel and fell asleep. She stroked its scales gently. They felt warm now, healthy. The creature had grown so much in just 3 days. Too much. Rachel did quick calculations. At this growth rate, the dragon would be pony-sized within a week. She couldn't hide something that large, couldn't keep sneaking around forever. Someone would discover them soon. Discovery came 5 days after Rachel found the dragon. She was in the lab analyzing mineral samples when the station-wide alarm activated. Her comm unit crackled to life. All personnel report current locations. Security sweep in progress. Rachel's heart dropped. She sprinted toward her quarters. The dragon was alone, confined. If security found it first, they would kill it without hesitation. Protocol demanded it. She rounded a corner and slammed into Dimitri. He grabbed her shoulders to steady her. "Where's the fire, Brooks?" "My quarters," Rachel gasped. "I left equipment running, could be dangerous." Dimitri's eyes narrowed. Security detected unusual thermal signatures in residential section. "Your room specifically. Want to tell me what's really going on?" Rachel opened her mouth, closed it. No good lies came to mind. Behind Dimitri, 2 security drones floated into view, scanners active. "Sir," one drone reported. "Life form detected, non-human, size classification, medium predator." "Lock it down," Dimitri ordered. "Full containment protocol." Rachel pushed past him and ran. She heard Dimitri shouting behind her but didn't stop. Her quarters were 3 corridors away. She reached the door as it began sealing. Emergency locks engaged. Red lights flashed. "Override," Rachel yelled. "Authorization Brooks 77 Delta." The door hesitated. Her clearance battled with security protocols. The lock disengaged. Rachel slipped through as the door started closing again. Inside, the dragon pressed itself against the far wall. Its scales had turned dark, a defensive camouflage response. Fear radiated from its mind into hers. "It's okay," Rachel said softly. "I'm here." The dragon rushed to her side. It was massive now, the size of a large dog, wings folded tight against its body. Claws scraped against the floor. Rachel wrapped her arms around its neck and felt the creature's rapid heartbeat. The door exploded inward. Dimitri entered with 4 security personnel and a dozen drones. Everyone stopped when they saw Rachel and the dragon together. "Step away from the creature," Dimitri said. His voice was calm, but his hand rested on his weapon. "No," Rachel said. "Brooks, that's a Class X predator. It's dangerous." "It's a baby." Rachel didn't move. "And it's bonded to me. Kill it and you'll probably kill me too." Dimitri hesitated. "Explain now." Rachel talked fast. She told them about finding the dragon, the research she'd done, the empathic bond that formed between them, how the creature responded to human emotional range in ways other species couldn't achieve. "Dragons need constant emotional contact," Rachel said. "Other species can't provide it. Their emotional bandwidth is too narrow, but humans feel everything intensely. Joy, sadness, fear, love. We're emotionally chaotic. That's exactly what dragons need." One security officer laughed. "You're saying humans are good at something because we're emotional messes." "Yes," Rachel looked at Dimitri. "Let me prove it." She released the dragon and stood. The creature didn't attack. It sat calmly, watching the security team with curious eyes. Rachel walked across the room. The dragon followed. She told it to sit. It sat. She told it to stay. It stayed even when she walked behind the security team. "Basic commands," Dimitri said. "Doesn't prove safety." Rachel picked up a maintenance tool from her desk. Sharp, metal, heavy enough to be a weapon. She tossed it toward the dragon. Every security officer flinched. Weapons came up. The dragon caught the tool gently in its jaws, carried it back to Rachel, set it at her feet without a scratch, then sat down and waited for praise. Rachel scratched behind its horns. The dragon made happy chirping sounds. "It understands intent," Rachel said. "Not just commands. It reads my emotional state and responds appropriately. That's the bond." Dmitri lowered his weapon. The other officers did the same. One of them actually smiled. "That's impressive," Dmitri admitted. "But it doesn't change regulations. Commander Yuki needs to see this." Commander Yuki arrived 20 minutes later. She was Zentari, a tall species with 4 arms and skin that changed color based on mood. Right now, her skin showed patterns of curiosity mixed with concern. "Show me," Yuki said simply. Rachel demonstrated everything again. The dragon performed perfectly. It followed complex instructions, showed problem-solving abilities, responded to emotional cues that Rachel didn't even speak aloud. Yuki watched in silence. Her skin gradually shifted toward colors that indicated fascination. "How long has this bond existed?" Yuki asked. 5 days. "Impossible. Dragon bonding takes months according to our data." "Your data was gathered from dragons bonding with other dragons," Rachel said. "Never with humans. We're different. Our emotional intensity accelerates the process." Yuki circled the dragon slowly. The creature tracked her movement but didn't act aggressively. It simply stayed close to Rachel and waited. "There are laws," Yuki said finally. "Galactic conservation protocols. This dragon should be transferred to a proper facility." "Those facilities have 90% mortality rates for empathic species," Rachel countered. "You know that. Isolation kills them. And keeping it here is legal how?" Rachel had no answer for that. The dragon pressed against her leg. She felt its worry, its fear of separation. Yuki's skin rippled through several color patterns. She was thinking, calculating, making a decision that would affect all of them. "I can give you 72 hours," Yuki said. 3 days to prove this bond is stable and beneficial. If you succeed, I'll petition the Galactic Council for an exception. If you fail, the dragon goes to containment. Those are the terms." "What kind of proof do you need?" "Show me the dragon can integrate with station life without becoming a threat. Show me this bond makes both of you better. Show me something that makes the council believe humans and dragons belong together." Yuki left without waiting for a response. Dmitri lingered at the door. "You've got guts, Brooks," he said. "Stupid guts, but guts." "Will you help?" Rachel asked. Dmitri looked at the dragon. The creature looked back. Some understanding passed between them. "Yeah," Dmitri said. "I'll help. Someone needs to keep you alive." After everyone left, Rachel sat on the floor with the dragon. 3 days, 72 hours to prove the impossible. The dragon curled around her protectively. Through their bond, Rachel felt its determination. They would face this together. They had to. The testing arena occupied an unused cargo bay. Yuki had authorized its conversion overnight. Obstacles, monitoring equipment, protective barriers for observers, everything needed to evaluate a potentially dangerous creature. Rachel stood at the entrance with the dragon at her side. The creature had grown again, now the size of a small pony. Its silver scales caught the harsh lighting and threw back reflections. Through their bond, Rachel felt curiosity mixed with nervousness. "Ready?" Dmitri asked. He'd spent the morning helping set up the tests. "No," Rachel admitted, "but let's do it anyway." The first test was impulse control. A sealed container held live prey animals, small rodents from the station's biological samples. The dragon needed to resist hunting instincts despite the scent of food. Rachel led the dragon into the arena. Station crew lined the observation windows. Some looked excited, others appeared worried. A few were clearly hopping for failure. The container opened. 3 rodents scurried out. The dragon's head snapped toward them instantly. Its muscles tensed. Predator instincts activated. Rachel felt the surge of hunger through their bond. Easy, Rachel said quietly. You don't need them. The dragon's eyes tracked the rodents as they ran across the floor. Every instinct screamed to chase, to hunt, to feed. The creature's claws scraped against the floor. Its wings twitched. Rachel placed her hand on the dragon's neck, pushed calm emotions through their connection. Trust, safety, the knowledge that better food waited after the test. The dragon shuddered, looked away from the prey, sat down deliberately and focused on Rachel instead. The observation deck erupted in surprised conversation. Yuki's skin showed approval colors. Dmitri actually applauded. Test 1 complete, Yuki announced, proceeding to Test 2. The second test involved defensive responses. A training drone would approach Rachel in a threatening manner. The dragon needed to protect her without causing lethal damage to the drone. The drone activated. It moved toward Rachel with aggressive speed. Warning lights flashed across its surface. The dragon positioned itself between Rachel and the threat immediately. A low growl rumbled from its chest. Fire sparked in its nostrils. The drone fired a harmless paint round at Rachel. The dragon's response was instant. It knocked the projectile away with one wing while using its tail to sweep the drone's legs. The machine crashed to the floor. The dragon pinned it with one foot but didn't crush it. Rachel approached the downed drone. The dragon released it immediately and backed away. No excessive force, perfect control. Impressive, Yuki said. Test 3 begins in 5 minutes. Test 3 was the hardest. Fire control in enclosed spaces. The dragon needed to demonstrate it could regulate its natural flame breath without causing damage to the station's infrastructure. They brought in a metal framework with various targets, some marked for burning, others marked as protected. The dragon needed to hit correct targets while avoiding wrong ones. Rachel walked the dragon through the setup, explained which targets were safe, which ones needed protection. The creature listened intently. Its intelligence showed in how quickly it understood complex instructions. Begin when ready, Yuki said. Rachel pointed to the first target. The dragon inhaled deeply. Fire erupted from its mouth, but not wild, controlled. The flame touched only the designated target. Heat melted the metal precisely. No spillover, no collateral damage. Target after target, the dragon performed perfectly. It adjusted flame temperature, changed the width of the fire stream, even created a focused heat beam that welded two pieces of metal together instead of melting them. The observation deck went silent. This wasn't just training. This was a dragon using its natural abilities like tools, thinking, adapting, creating. Rachel felt pride surge through their bond. The dragon felt it too. Its performance improved even more. It started showing off, creating patterns in the metal with precise heat application, drawing spirals and curves. Then alarms blared. Red lights flashed across every surface. The arena's emergency doors began sealing. Yuki's voice crackled through the speakers, tense and urgent. Containment breach. Sector 9. Razor wasps released. All personnel evacuate to safe zones. Rachel's blood went cold. Razor wasps were invasive insects from a quarantined world. Their stings caused paralysis in most species. Their swarms could strip flesh from bone in minutes. Someone kept samples for research. Those samples had just escaped. Rachel, get out of there, Dmitri yelled through the comm. Those things will kill you. The dragon sensed her fear. It moved closer. Through their bond, Rachel felt the creature's protective instincts activating, not panic, determination. The first wasps entered through a ventilation shaft. Dozens of them, each the size of Rachel's thumb, striped bodies, wings that hummed like tiny chainsaws. They spotted Rachel and Dove. The dragon roared. Real sound this time, not chirps or growls. A full predator's challenge that shook the walls. The wasps hesitated for just a second. That second was enough. The dragon didn't breathe fire. Instead, it inhaled sharply, created a massive updraft of superheated air. The thermal column caught the wasps and flung them upward, away from Rachel. The insects tried to fly against the current but couldn't. The dragon maintained the updraft, creating a barrier of rising heat. More wasps poured through the ventilation shaft, hundreds now. The observation deck erupted in panic. People ran for exits, but several crew members were trapped in an adjacent corridor. The wasps had surrounded them. Rachel saw them through the viewing window. 5 people pressed against a wall, wasps closing in. No escape route. "We have to help them," Rachel said. The dragon was already moving. It charged the wall between the arena and the corridor. Rachel felt its intent, felt the plan forming in the creature's mind. She should have been scared, should have stopped it. Instead, she ran alongside the dragon and helped. The dragon hit the wall with its shoulder. The barrier cracked. Not enough. Rachel grabbed a piece of testing equipment and swung it at the weakened point. The wall gave way. Dragon and human burst through together. The trapped crew members screamed, not at the wasps, at the dragon. They expected to die either way. Rachel raised her hands. "Trust us." The dragon created another thermal updraft, this one stronger, more focused. It swept through the corridor like a wind tunnel. Wasps flew backward, unable to fight the current. The dragon herded them toward an airlock. Rachel understood immediately. She ran to the controls. "Get down," she yelled. Everyone dropped. The dragon stopped the updraft. Rachel hit the emergency vent. The airlock explosive decompressed. Every wasp in the corridor got sucked into space, gone in seconds. Silence fell. Then someone started laughing, relief, hysteria. Soon everyone was laughing. They were alive. The dragon had saved them. Yuki entered the corridor surrounded by security. Her skin showed colors Rachel had never seen before, shock mixed with respect. "How did it know to do that?" Yuki asked. Rachel looked at the dragon, at her partner, her friend. "Because I knew," Rachel said, "and we think together now." The investigation revealed sabotage within an hour. Someone had deliberately released the razor wasps. Security footage showed a figure in maintenance coveralls accessing the containment lab. The person knew exactly where to look, knew which specimens to release. Dmitri gathered everyone in the command center. His expression was grim. "The saboteur wiped their identity from the logs," he said, "but they left something else, a message." A screen activated. Text appeared in standard galactic script. "Return Biogen property or next incident will be fatal. You have 36 hours." Rachel felt cold. Biogen, the crashed transport ship. "Confirmed," Yuki said. "I ran background checks after finding the message. That vessel was registered to Biogen Dynamics, a genetic research corporation. They've been flagged for illegal specimen trafficking." "They want the dragon back," Rachel said. "They consider it salvage from their wreck," Dmitri added. "Galactic Maritime lost sides with them. Technically, we're harboring stolen property." The dragon pressed against Rachel's leg. She felt its confusion through their bond. The creature didn't understand property laws, didn't understand why anyone would want to separate them. "What happens if we refuse?" Rachel asked. Yuki's skin shifted to dark, troubled colors. "Biogen filed a recovery claim 6 hours ago. They have legal authority to retrieve their assets. A recovery team is en route. Arrival time, 34 hours. "This is insane," Rachel said. "The dragon is a living being, not cargo." "Biogen's paperwork classifies it as a biological specimen," Yuki said. "Legally purchased from Draken IV poachers. The dragon has no citizen status, no rights, it's property." Rachel looked around the room. Everyone avoided her eyes. Even Dmitri seemed defeated. "So we just hand over a sentient creature to people who caused the crash that nearly killed it?" Rachel's voice rose. to a corporation that clearly doesn't care about anything except genetic material. I don't like it either, Yuki said quietly, but I have to follow the law. Rachel wanted to scream. Instead, she turned and left. The dragon followed. They walked through empty corridors until reaching the observation deck, the same place they'd come that first night, when everything was still simple. Rachel sat by the window, the dragon curled around her. Through their bond, she felt the creature's acceptance. It didn't blame her, didn't expect her to have all the answers. It simply trusted her to do her best. I won't let them take you, Rachel whispered. I promise. Dmitri found them an hour later. He sat down without speaking. The dragon watched him warily. I pulled Biogen's files, Dmitri said finally. Everything I could access legally, and some things I couldn't. Rachel looked at him, and they're not a research company. They're harvesters. They hunt rare species and extract genetic material for weapons development. Dragon biology makes them nearly indestructible. Biogen wants to replicate that for military applications. They'll kill it. Eventually, after running every test they can think of, Dimitri's expression hardened. I saw the files, Rachel. What they did to other creatures, it's not research, it's torture. Rachel felt sick. The dragon sensed her distress and made worried sounds. The recovery team won't just take the dragon, Dimitri continued. They'll take you too, as evidence. The bond makes you valuable. They'll want to study how it formed. Let them try, Rachel said. I won't cooperate. They won't ask nicely. Dimitri stood and looked out the window, but there might be another option. What option? Fight back. The station has minimal weapons, but we have advantages. Home territory, knowledge of the layout, and a dragon. Rachel stared at him. You're suggesting we go to war with a corporation. I'm suggesting we defend ourselves. Biogen doesn't have legal authority to harm station personnel. If their recovery team uses force, we can claim self-defense. They'll have lawyers, contracts, legal justification for everything. Maybe, Dimitri said, but they'll also have mercenaries, people who shoot first and file paperwork later. When they attack, we can prove their real intentions. The dragon stood. It moved to Dimitri and studied him carefully. Some silent communication passed between them. The creature seemed to approve. You'd risk your career for this, Rachel asked. Already did when I helped you hide a Class X predator, Dimitri said. Might as well go all in. Over the next 20 hours, Dimitri quietly recruited allies. Station crew who'd witnessed the dragon save lives. Scientists who were disgusted by Biogen's practices. Engineers who could modify defensive systems. Even Yuki contributed, though she claimed to know nothing about it officially. They prepared the station, sealed certain corridors, created choke points, placed emergency supplies in strategic locations. The dragon helped, using its strength to move heavy equipment and its fire to weld reinforcements. Rachel spent the time studying the dragon's abilities. The creature could survive in vacuum for short periods. Its scales regulated temperature automatically. It could see in multiple spectrums, hear frequencies humans couldn't detect. The bond let Rachel access these senses, see what the dragon saw, feel what it felt. They were becoming more than partners. They were becoming a single fighting unit. Biogen's ship arrived exactly on schedule. A heavy cruiser, military grade, far more firepower than a recovery operation required. Yuki opened communications. Biogen vessel, this is Station Outpost 7. State your intentions. The response was cold and professional. Commander Yuki, we're here to recover stolen property. Prepare to transfer custody of specimen designation Dragon 77 and researcher Rachel Brooks. Researcher Brooks is a station employee, Yuki said. You have no authority to detain her. We have evidence she conspired to steal Biogen property. She'll face charges. Present your evidence through proper legal channels. "We are the proper legal channels." The voice hardened. "Prepare for boarding. Resistance will be met with appropriate force." The communication cut. Biogen's ship moved closer. Airlocks aligned with the station's docking ports. Dimitri appeared at Rachel's side. "They're coming. Multiple entry points. Professional soldiers." Rachel looked at the dragon. The creature's scales had darkened to combat camouflage. Its eyes glowed with inner fire. Through their bond, Rachel felt no fear, only readiness. "Let them come," Rachel said. "We'll show them what happens when you threaten a bonded pair." The first boarding team breached the airlock. The battle for the dragon's freedom began. Biogen's mercenaries moved through the station in 3 groups: professional, coordinated, armed with weapons designed to capture, not kill. They wanted their specimens intact. Dimitri's team struck first. Emergency bulkheads sealed behind the boarding teams. Gravity cut out in specific corridors. Air vents redirected to create confusion. The mercenaries found themselves separated and disoriented. Rachel and the dragon took position in the main hub, the largest open space on the station, where all corridors eventually led. They would make their stand there. The dragon had grown overnight. Stress hormones accelerated its development, now the size of a small vehicle, wings that could barely fold against its body, claws that scored the metal floor when it moved, but still young, still learning. Through their bond, Rachel felt the creature's determination. It would protect her. She would protect it. Nothing else mattered. The first mercenary team entered the hub from the north corridor. 6 soldiers in combat armor, weapons raised. The team leader spoke through an amplifier. "Rachel Brooks, surrender the specimen. You cannot win this fight." Rachel stepped forward. The dragon moved with her, perfectly synchronized. "This specimen has a name," Rachel said, "and it's not yours to take." The team leader raised his weapon, a capture net launcher, designed to restrain creatures much larger than the dragon. He fired. The dragon's response was instant. It created a blast of superheated air that incinerated the net before it could expand. Then it moved, not attacking, positioning. The creature placed itself between Rachel and every angle of fire. The mercenaries fired multiple nets simultaneously. The dragon burned them all. Its fire control was perfect, hot enough to destroy the nets, not hot enough to harm the soldiers inside their armor. "Escalate to force," the team leader ordered. Real weapons came out: electric stun guns, sonic disruptors, chemical gas canisters. The mercenaries weren't trying to be gentle anymore. Rachel felt the dragon's anger surge, felt its desire to unleash full power. She pushed calm through their bond, reminded the creature why they were fighting, not for revenge, for freedom. The dragon listened. Instead of attacking, it moved, speed that seemed impossible for something so large. It grabbed Rachel and launched into the air. Wings caught updrafts from the station's ventilation. They soared above the mercenaries' weapons range. From above, Rachel saw the full battle. Dimitri's team engaging the second mercenary group in the eastern sector. Engineers flooding corridors with foam that gummed up equipment. Scientists using containment fields designed for hazardous materials to trap soldiers. The station crew was winning through creativity, using tools as weapons, thinking faster than the mercenaries could adapt. But the third team was different. They ignored the other fights, moved directly toward the hub. Leading them was someone Rachel recognized from Biogen's files: Dr. Cortez, the head of genetic research. He wanted the dragon personally. Cortez entered with a device Rachel didn't recognize, some kind of neural disruptor. He aimed it at the dragon. "This will sever your bond," Cortez said calmly. "Temporarily, long enough for us to secure the specimen." He fired. Rachel felt the connection to the dragon fracture, not broken, but damaged. The creature's emotions became distant, confused. The dragon landed badly, stumbled. Its movements lost coordination. Rachel hit the ground running. She had seconds before Cortez fired again, seconds before the bond shattered completely. Her mind raced through everything she'd learned about dragon biology, about the bond, about what made it work. Physical contact strengthened the connection. Emotional intensity reinforced it. Humans could provide both in ways other species couldn't. Rachel ran straight at the dragon. Cortez fired the disruptor again. Rachel felt the second hit like ice in her veins. The bond stretched thin, nearly breaking. She crashed into the dragon's side, wrapped her arms around its neck, pushed every emotion she had through the damaged connection. Fear, hope, love, determination, the full chaotic storm of human feeling. The bond held, then strengthened, reinforced by Rachel's refusal to let go. The dragon's eyes cleared. It stood, shook off the disruptor's effects. Through their rebuilt connection, Rachel felt something new. The dragon was changing, evolving. The bond was triggering biological responses neither of them expected. The dragon's scales began to glow, not just reflecting light, producing it. Energy built up inside the creature, pressure seeking release. "Get back," Rachel yelled at everyone, mercenaries and station crew alike. The dragon opened its mouth. What emerged wasn't fire. It was plasma, pure energy shaped by the dragon's will. The beam cut through the air and struck the wall behind Cortez. Metal melted instantly. The wall collapsed. But the dragon controlled the destruction perfectly. The beam carved an exit to the station's exterior, to open space, an escape route. Cortez stared in shock. "That's impossible. Dragons don't develop plasma breath until maturity, years of growth." "You don't understand the bond," Rachel said. "It accelerates everything: emotional development, physical development, intelligence. We're making each other better." The dragon created a thermal barrier around Rachel, protected her from vacuum. Then it grabbed her gently and flew through the hole it had created. Space surrounded them, silent, cold, beautiful. The dragon's scales shifted, adapted, created their own life support field. The creature could survive out here, thrive even. Through the hole, Rachel saw Cortez running toward his ship, the mercenaries retreating. The battle was over. Yuki's voice crackled through Rachel's emergency comm. "Biogen is withdrawing. They're claiming the dragon is too dangerous to capture safely, requesting military backup instead." "How long until that backup arrives?" Rachel asked. 3 days minimum," Yuki said. "Maybe longer. I may have sent their request through the slowest bureaucratic channels possible." Rachel smiled. 3 days, time to make their case, time to prove the bond was real and valuable. The dragon flew around the station in lazy circles. Joy radiated through their connection. Freedom, open space, no walls or restrictions. Other ships approached over the next hours. News vessels, science teams, representatives from a dozen species. Word of the human-dragon bond had spread. Everyone wanted to see it. Rachel gave interviews while floating in space beside the dragon, demonstrated their connection, showed how they communicated without words, how they thought as one unit while remaining individuals. A Centauri scientist asked the question everyone wanted answered. "What does this mean for both species?" Rachel looked at the dragon, felt its thoughts mingling with hers. "It means neither of us has to be alone anymore," Rachel said. "Humans have emotions we can barely control. Dragons need emotions to survive. We complete each other." The dragon made harmonious sounds that its translator converted to words. "She gave me life. I give her strength. Together we are more." Yuki appeared on a video screen. "The Galactic Council wants to meet with you, both of you. They're considering a proposal." "What kind of proposal?" "A sanctuary for rescued dragons and volunteer humans. A place where bonds can form naturally, where both species can learn from each other." Rachel felt hope surge. The dragon felt it too. Through their bond, they shared the same dream, a future where more humans and dragons could find what they'd found. "We'll go," Rachel said, "but we're coming back here first. This station is home." 3 months later, the sanctuary opened. 20 rescued dragon eggs, 40 human volunteers. Rachel and the dragon led the program, teaching others how to form bonds, how to build trust across species. The dragon had grown to full size, massive wings, scales that glowed like captured starlight, plasma breath that could cut through asteroids, but still gentle with Rachel, still protective. Some bonds failed. Not every human-dragon pair worked, but enough succeeded that the council took notice. Within a year, human-dragon partnerships were recognized across the galaxy. Rachel stood on the sanctuary's observation deck and watched young dragons playing with their human partners. Each pair unique, each bond different, all of them proof that connection transcended biology. The dragon landed beside her. Its thoughts touched hers gently. "Happy?" "Yes," Rachel said aloud. "Are you?" "Always when we are together." Through the window, stars stretched endlessly. Space that once seemed empty now felt full of possibility, full of potential bonds waiting to form, full of futures they could build together. Rachel rested her hand on the dragon's neck, felt the warmth of its scales, the steady rhythm of its breathing, the constant presence of its mind alongside hers. "Thank you," she whispered, "for trusting me." The dragon's response filled her consciousness. Not words, pure emotion, gratitude, love, the unshakable certainty that they belonged together. Some bonds were written in law, some in blood, but the bond between human and dragon was written in something stronger. Understanding, acceptance, choice. And that made all the difference.